Hey folks, welcome to yet another exciting edition. If you're liking any of this information that we give you, please hit like and subscribe. It is free to you and that's the way you can support us. And I promise in return we will do our due diligence to bring you the most accurate information and to share with you all opportunities and evolutions that are happening in the field. So today we will be talking about timelines for the CaRMs. And the CaRMs is like the final piece and the most important piece of the puzzle after you have gone through your MCC QE1 exams, your NACOSKI exams, you've written your OET, SALPIP, IELTS language tests, you have met provincial requirements depending on where you're living. If you're in Alberta, you've done the AIMG program. If you are in BC, you have also done the BC CAP, or if you're in Quebec, you've done the accreditation program for Quebec to just make sure you meet the eligibility criteria. So there's always a lot within this CaRMs cycle, but today we're going to see a realistic timeline for you to be able to meet all these requirements and ace your match from the very first go. Even if you're doing it for the second time, the third time, the nth time, this is a different approach that I'm going to share with you today. I match into internal medicine at the University of Calgary and I just applied for the CaRMs once and I had a track record of having the most invites an IMGS ever had. If you're interested in all of our stuff, we're also organizing NACOSKI classes and QE1 classes, and we'll start those in the fall of this year. If you want to be a part of it, please visit our website or scan the QR code right now on your screen and join our communication channels, and we will be able to add you once the time comes by. This registration will soon open. We will share with you super high yield questions. We'll show you the approach to use to ace superior performance on your NAC and your QE1, because these things are really important, especially when you're applying to Ontario where there is some filtration system that happens. This will actually help you a lot. So let's look at 10 key realistic things that you're supposed to do as an IMG to prepare yourself for the residency match. Number one, start preparations early. I remember in my year, I started my preparations before July. So I started literally in May, but I was a resident of Alberta. So technically I started even earlier than that. So I started it prior to May. I started like sometime late in April, where I was trying to put together all the necessary requirements. So for some of you out there, because someone reached out to me the other day saying they are living in Alberta, but they completely missed out. And this is not the first person. This is not the second person. So folks, listen, if you're living in Alberta or you wish to apply to Alberta, you must be a resident of Alberta, point number one. Number two, Alberta has something we call the AIMG assessment program. The link of their website in the description. You submit a bunch of documents to AIMG Bureau and you pay a fee ranging between $200 to $400. I don't know what it is this year. And then they'll assess it to see if you meet the eligibility requirements to apply to become a resident in Alberta. Again, if you look at this finances from MD Finance, you're going to see that Alberta kind of like tops the board in terms of high paying, low taxes, and lots of other advantages. So a lot of IMGs or a lot of physicians generally want to practice in Alberta, but there's all these restrictions, especially for IMG. So you want to make sure that you're looking at this information, you're applying on time. It is usually applied in May where they do this pre-screening and then you sit for an MMI sometimes closer to your exams. Same thing, even if you're in Ontario, living in Ontario, you want to apply to BC, there is something called the BC CAP, where again, it's a pre-assessment prior to application to residency, and you sit in for the MMI as well, and then they evaluate you. Don't worry about what MMI is, we'll talk about that in another video. And then if you want to apply in Quebec, you don't have to be a resident of Quebec or BC, but if you're applying in Quebec, you have to do as well an assessment. Same thing, submitting documentations as requested. I've put the link in the description just for you to know what that checklist is. All right, so start preparing early. Make sure you know about all these different programs and you apply to them and you meet the eligibility criteria if you're looking at applying to these different provinces. Number two is start reading last year's program description if you're applying this year. Make sure you read what was asked. Sometimes it change a lot. Sometimes the descriptions don't change, but for sure they would change. So don't just write a personal statement based off of last year's program description, requirements for personal statement, and then you don't review once the new programs open in September. So generally, CaRMs will open in September, mid to late September, and it closes late November. Generally, always look at their website. I've left the link in the description. Check it out. And once you've done the provinces, BC, Alberta, Quebec, which have the assessment programs. Make sure you deal with those and you put them aside, and you're done with them. You're done. You start from July, August, you start actively preparing, writing personal statement. I wanted to apply for like 28 programs because I am an IMG. I never knew what the stakes were like for me, but I ended up getting a huge number for different programs. That is about the highest an IMG has ever had, until maybe proven otherwise. I don't know, but I have to start preparing really early from July, writing personal statements and having them proofread, asking questions. If you have zero clinical experience in Canada like I did, then you want to start trying to see how you can secure an observership position. My advice to you would be, please try as much as possible to do an observership in a university teaching hospital. I would say if you have 3 offers from a community hospital and 1 from a university hospital, pick the one from a university hospital, because there you will meet residents. And sometimes you meet third-year residents who are the people who actually sit in some of the review committee, and they do interview you as well. If someone actually knows you well, they know you're knowledgeable, your communication is good, you meet the CANMED rules, they are more likely to act in favor of your application versus some other application that might be, let's say, same as yours, and then it's just about gut feeling. They would likely pick you. So please. And then there's this juicy advantage that you might meet a mentor who is actually a university teacher who teaches in a medical school, or who will be a residency preceptor, and they would be able to give you like your letter of reference or letter of recommendation. This is very, very important. And remember that you must provide 3 letters of recommendation with your CaRMs application. So that is very indispensable. So you want to do that. So start preparing early. Next thing is you want to do stuff that will help with your continuous medical education. If you're taking some courses, I've left the link in the description for you to be able to follow some of these courses and just put them on your resume. They're really important. They give value, and it's a whole section on your CaRMs application for like continuous medical education. So you want to have that. Anyways, folks, if you're enjoying this and this is bringing value to you, please support us. Hit like and subscribe. Become a part of our team. Join our communication channels by these QR codes on the screen. Links as well in the description. So the next thing is you have to know when CaRMs generally opens. So CaRMs generally opens in September, as I said earlier, and it closes sometimes around November. And then you have the programs review your application. Some programs might start interviews as early as the 17th of December. Most of the programs will usually start interviews on January the 5th and must be done by like February the 6th. So it's about 1 month period of interviews. And then you generally get your results sometimes early March. And then you go to having your second iteration, which would definitely open sometimes towards mid-March and end mid-April. So this is usually the ideal timelines. And then you would start, if you match in a specific program, then the program is going to contact you, congratulate you, and start giving you information on how to get accredited with the College of Physicians for that particular jurisdiction, the documentation. So all this paperwork, and then some pre-clinical assessments and training for you to use like the electronic medical record, get used to the system, basic things that you're supposed to know, orientation. And they will do this before you finally end up starting residency in July. So once program descriptions open in September, if you've read the previous year program descriptions, then you're pretty much ready. You know already what is requested. At least you have a draft, you've had your stories. So guys, take your time, think about yourself, do a lot more self-thinking than just trying to, put out stuff there for your application. Sit down a week or 2. That's what I did. Deep self-reflection, and I was able to write fantastic personal statements, and that's why I got the most amount of invites that an IMG has ever gotten, to the best of my knowledge anyways. So again, take your time, make sure you read program description really well. When you're writing your program description, show don't tell. You remember when our parents used to tell us stories? They'll be like, once upon a time. Every kid is gonna lean forward. They'll be curious. They want to hear what happened. Don't just say, oh, I was born in India. I studied so hard, went to the best medical school in India, in Mumbai or Bombay. Then I graduated, started working as a physician. I was the best from my class. I saw many cases like hypertension, diabetes, and I was always carrying out community campaigns and helping very sick people. I advocated for them. And then when it was time I moved to Canada, I got to do observerships and I learned about the healthcare system, and then blah, blah. blah blah blah. That is absolutely yes. No one is really gonna help you or grant your application a step forward because you're just telling and you're not showing. You have to show your experience. Let someone reading it feel it. Let them visualize it. Let them picture it. Let them want to talk to you to actually see the person who this story pertains to. That is how you want to stand out because the competition is fierce. There is several people. For every one position, there is almost about 5 to 10 IMGs applying for that one position. So you want to be the best. You want to stand out because once you're at the CaRMs level and you filtered until you've been invited for an interview, you almost all have the same score, same grade, same continuous medical education, same publication, same almost everything. So now you need to stand out. And for you to even get filtered, you need to have that good personal statement. So the next thing is asking for reference letters. Every program requires that you submit at least 3 reference letters. You want to request for reference letters for people who are requesting for letters back from home, say back from Africa, Asia, Europe. You want to tell your preceptors early enough so they are able to go on that application portal and then they register, because it's a whole registration process and sometimes it's a little bit time consuming and your preceptors might not be very happy about that. Prepare them for that. If there's specific things that your specific program wants to see on your letter, make sure that you emphasize on those things and let your preceptors include those things in their letters. This is really important. So ask for your letters early. Make sure that your preceptors have a good knowledge about the site. Assist them and support them with any information that they might need. And the next thing is that you can get letters from anywhere. An amazing letter from India is better than getting a letter from someone in Canada. My personal story, I matched into internal medicine with just 1 letter from Canada. And again, you can match with 0 letters from Canada. And I got interviews for family medicine and I used 0 letters from Canada because I had no clinical exposure into family medicine in Canada. So you can get letters that are of good quality from people that have worked with you and can talk about your clinical experience, you as a person, things that are unique and peculiar to you, but that are pertinent and positively contribute to, ameliorating or making your application stand out. The next thing is that the CaRMs portal is a giant website. There's lots of documentation that you have to upload. There's lots of information that you have to fill. There's like your dean's letter that you also have to submit. Most schools might not offer a dean's letter. Write a letter to your school or tell your school to write a letter saying that they don't offer a dean's letter because it is a requirement required for most of the programs. And sometimes schools that are out of North America don't necessarily offer that document. Your transcripts as well, they need to get certified either through physicians apply or you get them certified in your home country and you upload them yourself. Personal statements, your CV has to be tailored to the program you're applying to. So it's just a lot of work. A lot of people don't know how much work it is, but it is a lot. It's like your MTCQE1 and NACOSKI combined, and that is how important and serious it is. Don't keep it to the last minute, please. There's other auxiliary things that you have to have had, like your English language test. If you're doing BC CAP, there's BC. Sometimes if you're applying for family medicine, they have a compulsory exams called FM Pro C, which you must write and you need to prepare. It's a situational judgment exams. Sometimes some provinces require you to write another situational judgment exams called CASPER. And again, we will talk about these exams in subsequent videos, but these are all things that you need to do. And I took all of those exams just to tell that the process is very complex. And I aced all those exams as well. So please prepare early. And once you've submitted all of this until it's end of November, the application period closes, then is that watch and wait time. Is very stressful. That period is usually the worst of your entire application process. You feel super stressed, but that's not even the worst. The worst one is when you have had an interview and you're waiting for CaRMs result on the 4th of March or at least early March. It is the worst time ever for you to have interviewed for many programs and you're just waiting, because interviewing doesn't guarantee you would match. Until you open your CaRMs on March 4th and you see that you've matched, there's no guarantee. So it's a very tricky time, high stake time, stressful as hell, and people do commit suicide. So you want to take care of your mental health. This is really important. You need family support. You need to dialogue with your partners, with your families, with your children. Tell them how busy you are. You might not always be there for them to dedicate time and to take part in like family activities. You want to communicate clearly. This is is really important. And then in the final analysis, when it is, March 4th and you've had your result and you match, congratulations, you made it. And then the documentation period again for you to, get accreditations with the CMPA College of Physicians and Surgeons of your particular jurisdiction. And then for you to get like pre-assessments, getting trained for like the medical record for your province, and do some clinical updates or clinical assessments and updates just to make sure that you're on point before you actually start residency in July. So that's a realistic timeline. So what I want to say in conclusion here is that it is complex. It's like your NAC and your QE1 combined. So please take this as serious as you can. If you are serious for NAC, double that effort for your CaRMs. This is the most important and determining factor, because this is where every decision is made for you entering the system or not. And remember that it is totally worth it. Put in as much resources as possible. By the time you match and you get through the program and train and then become a physician, it's going to be chicken change for you. So don't worry about that. So we'll be organizing classes for NAC and QE1 in the coming few months. So stay tuned. Join our communication channels right here on the screen. And you want to let us know if you want to be a part of it. We will give you high yield, precise questions that are usually very tailored towards exams. And from the past years, about 4 to 5 questions that we've seen during our mock sessions has been on the real exams. I mean, not word for word, but the same differentials and that kind of. So you want to stick with us. And if you have any questions, please do not forget to leave them in the comment section. And until then, see you in the next one.